Some families have told the same story for generations. We are Highland, always have been. The tartan hangs on the wall, the clan badge sits in a drawer, and nobody ever questions it. Then someone takes a DNA test, and the map lights up over Normandy, or Scandinavia, or a Flemish trading port nobody in the family has ever heard of. The story was wrong. But here is the part that should make you sit up. The real origin was never lost. It was sitting in the surname itself, waiting for someone to finally read it. Today we are counting down 35 Scottish clan surnames with documented DNA behind them, names that trace back to Norse raiders, Norman knights, and bloodlines hidden for centuries. A surname alone is not proof of anything, but if yours is on this list, your tartan may not come from the place you were told. Count how many you recognize. Number 35, Colquhoun. Say it, and you hear the Gaelic in every syllable. Picture the bonny banks of Loch Lomond, where the clan held its lands for centuries. But the Colquhoun chiefs carry the haplogroup EV13, a marker whose deepest roots trace not to the Highlands, but to the ancient Mediterranean, a lineage that spread north through the Balkans and into Western Europe long before anyone called themselves a clan. If your name is Colquhoun, the tartan on your shoulder may cover a bloodline older and stranger than any Highland legend ever told. Number 34, Berkeley. The name comes from de Berkeley, a Norman family who took their name from Berkeley and arrived in Scotland in the 12th century. They settled in the Mearns and became as Scottish as any family in the country. But the Berkeley chiefs fall within the I2, a haplogroup, a lineage that predates the Normans, the Anglo-Saxons, and even the Celts, reaching back to the earliest hunter-gatherer populations of Western Europe. If your name is Berkeley, your tartan wraps around a bloodline that was ancient before Scotland had a name. Number 33, Lindsay. This name walked into Scotland not from Normandy, but from the district of Lindsay in Lincolnshire, where a Flemish knight named Gilbert de Ghent held lands after the conquest. The family rose fast, eventually holding the earldom of Crawford and becoming one of the most powerful houses in the lowlands. The University of Strathclyde confirmed the Lindsay chiefs carry the I2, a haplogroup, the same deep pre-Celtic lineage found in the Berkeleys. Two great Scottish families, and underneath both of them, the same ancient blood that was walking this ground thousands of years before the first clan was ever formed. Number 32, Munro. Most people think of Highland peaks, of a clan rooted in the Scottish north as deeply as the mountains themselves. But, by the strongest clan tradition, the name comes from the Gaelic Bun Rotha, meaning the mouth of the River Roe, and that river is not in Scotland, it is in Ireland. The clan tradition holds that the family crossed from the north of Ireland into Easter Ross and planted themselves so firmly that nobody questioned whether they belonged. The chiefs carry the I2, a marker. If your family is Munro, the tartan you wear may have traveled from Ireland before it ever touched a Highland hillside, and the blood beneath it is older than either country. Number 31, Lyon. This is the name behind Glamis Castle, one of the most famous strongholds in Scotland, seat of the Earls of Strathmore, childhood home of a queen mother. The gold lion on the family arms looks every inch the proud Highland house. But the Lyon chiefs carry the I1 haplogroup, a marker whose highest concentrations sit in Scandinavia, in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. It is a Norse signature. If your name is Lyon, your clan badge may roar in Gaelic, but the blood behind it whispers in Old Norse. Number 30, Hamilton. One of the grandest names in Scottish history, a ducal house close to the throne. The name itself is English, from Hameldune in Leicestershire, and the family arrived in Scotland in the 13th century. But the Hamilton chiefs also carry the I1 haplogroup, that same Scandinavian marker. Beneath the ducal coronet sits a Norse-rooted lineage that traveled through England before it ever crossed the border into Scotland. Numbers 29 through 27, Cochrane, Home, and MacDougall, all three carry the I1, a Z284 marker, a Norse haplogroup tied to the Viking Age. Cochrane is a quiet Renfrewshire name with Scandinavian genetics hiding behind it. Home guarded the Scottish border for centuries, but the blood that built the family may have arrived on a longship. And MacDougall means son of Dubgall, the dark stranger, the name the Gaels gave to the Norse Vikings who arrived on the western coast. The MacDougalls descend from Dougal, eldest son of Somerled, the great Norse Gaelic warlord who carved a kingdom across the Hebrides. They held the lordship of Lorne and Dunolly Castle above Oban, a seat that still stands in family hands. The DNA confirms what the name always said plainly. Your ancestor was a Viking king's son. Number 26. Erskine. The Erskines became Earls of Mar, hereditary keepers of Stirling Castle, guardians of infant kings. But the chiefs carry the R1b U152 marker, a haplogroup concentrated not in Scotland or Ireland, but across the Alps, in northern Italy, Switzerland, and parts of France. It is a lineage more commonly associated with the old Roman frontier than with the Highland line. If your name is Erskine, your clan guarded Scottish kings in Scottish castles, but the male line traces to a part of Europe most Scots would never think to look. Number 25. Montgomery. The name arrived with the Norman conquest from Montgomery in Normandy, but the chiefs carry the J2 marker, a haplogroup whose roots reach into the ancient Near East and Mesopotamia. The Tartan is Scottish, the surname is French, but the blood underneath both traveled from the cradle of civilization itself. Number 24. Grant. The name gives away an origin, the mountains do not. Grant comes from the French word grand, meaning big or tall, a Norman nickname that stuck to a man's descendants forever. The clan held Strathspey for centuries, and the motto is, stand fast. They stood so fast in the Highlands that everyone forgot they had once walked in speaking French. Numbers 23 through 20. MacNab, Buchanan, MacLaren, and Drummond. All four carry the R1BL21 marker, the haplogroup most strongly associated with the Atlantic Celtic world. MacNab means son of the abbot, a clan born from the old Celtic church where holy men married and passed authority down the bloodline. Buchanan comes from the Gaelic for House of the Canon, another church-born clan rooted on the banks of Loch Lomond. MacLaren belongs to Balquhidder, the narrow glen they held with a stubbornness that outlasted wealthier neighbors. And Drummond carries the strangest tale of all, a tradition that the founder was a Magyar nobleman from Hungary who arrived with Queen Margaret in the 11th century. Whether the tale is true or not, the DNA places all four squarely in the Celtic genetic heartland of the West. Number 19. Boyd. The name comes from the Gaelic buid, meaning yellow or fair-haired. The Boyds rose through loyalty to Robert the Bruce, with Sir Robert Boyd commanding at Bannockburn in 1314. But the chiefs carry R1b U106, a haplogroup associated with Germanic peoples. The name may be Gaelic, but the blood behind the fair hair traces to the Germanic world, not the Celtic one. Number 18. Seaton. Here is one of the most extraordinary identity switches in Scottish history. Alexander Seaton married Elizabeth Gordon in the 15th century, and their sons took the Gordon name. A family that was genetically Seaton became the mighty Gordons of Huntly, the cock of the north. The DNA confirms it. Both carry the same R1b U106 marker. Your clan did not simply marry into the Gordons, it became them. Number 17. Dunbar. This family may carry one of the longest unbroken documented male lines in all of Britain, tracing back to Crianan the Thane in the 10th century, and forward through Gospatrick, who received lands from Malcolm III. Over 1,000 years of father-to-son descent, and the R1BU 106 marker supports every generation of it. One thing before the final piece. Everything I just showed you about your Scottish clan bloodline is traceable inside your own DNA results. I wrote the guide for exactly that. It is called Where Do You Really Come From? Link is below. Now, here is what nobody talks about. Number 16. Maxwell. The surname comes from Macus's Veal, a pool on the River Tweed named after a Norse nobleman. The Maxwells held Caerlaverock Castle and the wardenship of the West March. R1b U106, with specific snips tracing descent from John Maxwell of Netherpollock in the 14th century. Your Tartan is pure borders, but the name in your blood began with a Norseman standing beside a pool on the Tweed. Number 15. Sinclair. From St. Clair-sur-Epte in Normandy, Earls of Caithness and Orkney, builders of Rosslyn Chapel, R1BU106. The name is French, the earldom is Scottish, the chapel is a mystery, and the blood behind all of it traces to the Germanic heart of the continent. Number 14, Macpherson, and number 13, Cameron. Macpherson means son of the parson, another clan born from the Celtic Church. Cameron comes from the Gaelic camsran, crooked nose, the kind of blunt description Gaelic naming handed out freely. Both carry R1bL21, the Atlantic Celtic haplogroup. The Macphersons fought in the wild Cairngorm passes and produced James Macpherson, who published the Ossian poems and set off one of the greatest literary controversies in European history. The Camerons held Lochaber and followed the Stuarts into the Jacobite risings with a loyalty that cost them everything. Number 12. Mackenzie, son of Coinage, the Fair One. They held Kintail on the west coast, and Eileen Donan Castle, the most photographed castle in Scotland, R1bL21. The blood runs through the deepest Celtic channel in the west. Number 11. Murray. The name comes from the ancient province of Moray, but the family that made the surname Great did not come from there. The first Murray of record was a Flemish knight called Freskin, granted lands in Moray by King David I as part of the crown's policy of planting foreign nobles to break the power of local warlords. The Murrays spread until they became one of the largest clans in Scotland, holding the dukedom of Atholl. The chiefs carry R1bDF27, a haplogroup concentrated in southwestern Europe, a lineage that sits well with a founder from the trading ports of Flanders. Number 10. Sutherland. The name is Norse, not Gaelic. Sudreland means the Southland, given by Vikings looking down from Caithness and Orkney, to whom everything below them was simply the land to the south. The Earls of Sutherland held one of the oldest earldoms in Britain. The chiefs also carry R1bDF27, rooted in Atlantic Europe rather than the Norse world that gave the place its name. Your surname was coined by Vikings, but your blood traces somewhere else entirely. Number 9. MacLean. And number 8. Gordon. MacLean held Duart Castle on the Isle of Mull, a fortress on a sea cliff, R1bL21. Gordon is one of the most powerful names in Scotland, and it belongs to a family that is not genetically Gordon at all. The chiefs carry R1bU106, the same marker as the Setons, confirming the 15th century switch. The Tartan and the war cry are Gordon, but the blood behind the name has been Seton all along. Number 7. Graham. The Grahams were not merely defeated. They were deliberately erased. They settled the debatable land, and when King James pacified the borders, the Grahams were singled out above almost all others. Lands seized, men rounded up, families forcibly transported to Ireland. There were even efforts to forbid the very use of the surname. It did not work. The name survived, crossed the Atlantic, and the Grahams also produced the Marquess of Montrose, one of the most brilliant military commanders Scotland ever saw. If your family is Graham, a king tried to abolish your very name. The crown failed. You are the proof. Number 6. Armstrong. The single most feared riving clan on the entire Anglo-Scottish frontier, masters of Liddesdale, a valley so soaked in violence it was called the bloodiest in Britain. At their height, the Armstrongs could put thousands of riders in the saddle and answered to no king. Johnny Armstrong rode out to meet King James V, expecting an audience between near equals. The king ordered him hanged on the spot. Neil Armstrong's own line traces back to this border stock. Number 5. Campbell. Cambuel. Crooked mouth. The clan wore the insult like armor and built an empire on it. They dominated Argyll, backed the right side in every conflict, and the shadow that follows the name is Glencoe, the massacre of 1692, where Campbell soldiers slaughtered their MacDonald hosts under trust. R1bL21. The Tartan carries both glory and a stain that 3 centuries have not washed out. Number 4. MacDonald. The greatest clan name, and it belongs to a bloodline that is not purely Gaelic. The MacDonalds descend from Somerled, whose ancestry was Norse Gaelic, a fusion of Viking and Celtic blood forged in the islands. His descendants became the Lords of the Isles, rulers of a maritime domain so vast the Scottish crown considered it a rival kingdom. The chiefs carry R1, a Z284, a Scandinavian marker. The Viking blood was real. And Glencoe belongs to the MacDonalds too, the other side of the Campbell's story. The morning when 38 men, women, and children were murdered by soldiers they had sheltered. Number 3. Bruce. The name that saved Scotland is not Scottish at all. De Bruce, from the town of Brix in Normandy. The first Robert de Bruce arrived in Britain in the early 12th century as companion to Prince David. His descendants climbed through the nobility until the 7th Robert Bruce seized the throne, defeated the English at Bannockburn in 1314, and secured Scottish independence. R1BDF27. Consistent with Norman French origins. Your name was French before it was ever Scottish, and the blood behind the crown traces to Normandy. Number 2. Stuart. The surname that became a crown. The family began as the Fitz-Allans. Breton Norman lords granted the hereditary office of High Steward. The title became the name. When the Bruce line failed, the Stuarts stepped onto the throne and held it for 3 centuries, ruling both Scotland and England. They produced Mary Queen of Scots and the Stuart kings whose fall launched the Jacobite cause that would bleed the Highlands white. Your surname was a job title. Your blood is Breton Norman, and the Tartan once belonged to the royal house of 2 kingdoms. And here is number 1. MacGregor, the children of the mist. Their very name was outlawed for nearly 200 years. The Scottish Parliament banned the surname MacGregor on pain of death, and any man caught using it could be hunted and killed like an animal. Families scattered, took false names, buried their identities so deep that generations grew up not knowing what they truly were. The crime was the Battle of Glenfruin in 1603, where the MacGregors slaughtered a force of Colquhouns, and the crown used the bloodshed as justification to erase an entire people. But the clan survived. Rob Roy MacGregor became the most famous outlaw in Scottish history. The motto says everything. Es Riogel Mo Dream. Royal is my race. R1BL21. The deepest Gaelic bloodline of the West. If your name is MacGregor, your clan endured something no other was forced to endure. A king erased your name. Your people kept it alive in secret, and you are still here. So, how many did you count? One name on its own means little, but a name from this list combined with a DNA result that points to Scandinavia, or Normandy, or the Germanic heartland, or that deep Atlantic Celtic current running from Brittany to the Hebrides. That is when a surname becomes a doorway. The crown outlawed whole clans. It hanged border reivers, transported families, and tried to erase their very names. The Normans buried their origins under Scottish titles. The Norse left their blood in Gaelic-speaking houses and sailed away. And yet the name survived all of it, waiting in parish records and on weathered headstones for someone to finally ask the real question. The tartan on your wall may not come from where you thought. If you found these stories fascinating, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments, is your name on this list? Your ancestors carried these names across oceans and centuries. You only have to look at one to remember them.